Very few people in this area have their own yard and the ability to go out and grow their own garden. We really want the garden as an amenity to be a service to everyone, even just walking by the garden.
It's wonderful how every plot is different. That's fascinating to me, that like they're exactly the same thing, but none of them look alike. I found just a sense of a community of people here in Salt Lake that enjoy doing what I enjoy doing.
We are thrilled to be partnering this year with Wasatch Community Gardens on a virtual version of their Urban Garden and Farm Tour. In this special series of videos, we'll be visiting some of the many creative, experimental, and downright beautiful urban gardens and farms in the Salt Lake City community. While this tour is typically an in-person event, we've partnered with Wasatch Community Gardens to bring it to you virtually this year. Today, with Wasatch Community Gardens Community Education Director Mary Beth Janrick, we're visiting Stephanie Statnick's garden plot at the Gateway Community Garden. Stephanie's recently moved to Utah, and we'll see what she's learned about gardening here. But first, let's talk to Van Hoover about the importance of community gardens.
Check out, they have some really nice strawberries with the pink blossoms. We're here today at Wasatch Community Gardens' beautiful downtown Gateway Community Garden with Van Hoover, our Green City Growers Program Manager. Could you help the viewers understand what a community garden is and how it operates?
You know, this garden is really close to downtown, and there's a lot of really high density homes here. And so this kind of serves these areas that lack space, and so they're able to get their own plot. It's already set up with irrigation, all the best practices are ready to go. I think that's a really huge thing, because the practice of gardening really brings a lot to people's lives, especially in urban spaces, as well as, you know, people being able to grow their own food. You know, we have these spaces and people rent the plots themselves, but we really want the garden as an amenity to be a service to everyone, even just walking by the garden. Yeah, these peppers look amazing.
You can smell the dill even through the mask. So, Van, we're standing outside the fence now, outside the garden, and yet there are more garden boxes out here. So, what is this part of the garden for?
Yeah, we call this the U-pick plots. On the outside of the garden, we grow plots that anyone that's walking by can, you know, pick some peppers or a tomato or something and keep it for themselves. It's kind of a gesture that these growing spaces are for the whole community.
How do you go about selecting the next garden to develop?
So right now we have 17 sites. Farthest south is Draper, the farthest north is Rose Park, and everywhere in between. This was not an approved site when we first decided to go forward. And so really we are, you know, wanting to partner with the community. We really want the gardens to reflect the neighborhood and the people that are there. And, you know, that's kind of the ideal and the goal that we shoot towards. We really want them to understand that we want them in this garden.
So Stephanie, thank you so much for being here with us tonight at the beautiful Gateway Garden to show us what you're growing and which plots are yours. But first, before we do that, can you tell us how you came to find Wasatch Community Gardens?
So I was on a walk with my dog when we first moved here a year and a half ago, and walked by a community garden and took a picture of the sign, went home, looked online, was lucky enough it was early in the year, and was able to get a plot here. So this is my second summer here at Gateway.
Were you a gardener before you moved to Salt Lake City?
I grew up on a farm in Illinois, and so we always had a big garden, and I always tried to squeeze a little bit of gardening into whatever home that I had.
Now, I know that you started taking workshops with Wasatch Community Gardens, but you already had this pretty vast experience in growing food. So can you explain what it was that you got out of the workshops?
Well, coming to a brand new area, coming from the Midwest to Utah, I felt like I had a big learning curve. I didn't know anything about irrigation, didn't know anything about providing shade for plants. I also wanted to meet people that love the same thing that I love, and I found that in the workshops as much as I found knowledge.
What is it like for you to garden here in a place with, I think you said 92 plots?
Yes.
And at least 50 other gardeners.
There are many brand new gardeners that have never grown any vegetable before.
You would never know from looking at all the abundance here that there are so many new gardeners. That's really exciting.
I attribute that mostly to that so much of the starts come from the Wasatch Community Garden plant sale in the spring. And I think that they're just so healthy.
And another thing that we've done is Wasatch Community Gardens has done some specific little mini workshops for the gardeners in this garden when it very first started, to kind of help build that community and to let them know what resources exist, like all the workshops that you've taken. Now, I also understand that you have a larger role here in the garden than just Stephanie and plot number whatever. You're actually a garden mentor.
It's just one of the things that was available to volunteer for, and I felt like because I'd taken so many workshops that I wanted to share that. People do come and ask me every time I'm here, would you please come look at this? So it's fun to be able to share.
What would be your top tip for a new gardener in our area?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is applying shade and doing that in preparation for fall planting, and I'm doing that here, and just trying to cool the soil off. There's nothing planted underneath there, but just in preparation for those fall crops that like cooler temperature.
That's a really, really great tip. Have you used any shade cloth for your summer crops?
Yeah, in another plot.
Oh, well, let's go take a look at that.
Cool.
So this is that fabric that you were talking
Yeah.
about. What do
Yeah.
you have going on underneath here?
So this shades the tomatoes back in the back row, as well as this row of tomatoes that are quite a bit younger, and the cucumber plants really benefit from the shade as well.
I think this year in particular, you know, we've set so many heat records in August. Our tomato plants and the cucumbers really like to be comfortable like we do, between about 65 and 85 degrees. So anything that you can do, like applying this shade cloth to bring that temperature down into that comfort zone, is gonna, like you said, diminish the stress on the plants. It increases the productivity. This material, you're able to have these big, beautiful cucumbers and all of these tomatoes. So
It makes it more pleasant for the gardener too when you're on the other side of it.
And you're giving other gardeners a visual demonstration of something that they can do to improve the success in their own plot.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this final stop on the 2020 Urban Garden and Farm Tour, as we visited the Gateway Community Garden and learned about how community gardens operate. We hope that this tour has inspired you to think about the larger community in which food is grown here in Salt Lake City. Follow Wasatch Community Gardens on social media for tips, tricks, and webinars to help you grow your own best garden.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We also have a blog at pbsutah.org/moderngardener, where you can find out much more information about Stephanie's garden. And we've also made a special playlist with all of the videos on this tour, so if you miss a stop, check it out. For Modern Gardener, I'm Lizzie Brousseau.